No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the Japanese tier 10 medium tank, the STB-1. Now the STB-1 is a tank that before 6.0 I used to hate, because although it had absolutely incredible DPM, the gun handling on the tank was just pathetic. And add to that the pneumatic suspension, which I never played this tank without, so I don't know what it was like without it, but with it, it was horrible, because it was clunky, it just made it awkward to use. Add that, the bad gun handling, it just made the tank just horrible. But since 6.0, this tank now is pretty beautiful to use. Yes, the siege mode is still clunky, but the fact is, your gun handling is now absolutely fantastic. You tend to hit probably 7, 8 out of 10 shots, whereas before in the STB-1 it was more like 3 out of 10. The gun handling before that was absolutely atrocious. But yeah, like I say, now it definitely hits more often than it did, and that is absolutely fantastic. And it's really made me start to enjoy this tank so much, because honestly, the DPM on this tank is insane. It is absolutely nuts. You can rip tanks apart so quickly. Like you're seeing with this WZ-111 QL right here. And we are absolutely tearing him asunder. You know, he is like, just help me. Help me, please. And we're, you know, absolutely wrecking his poor soul. And he's dead. Now, this replay was from a little while ago. The next replay is more recent. That's purely because tier 10, I haven't really played it all that much recently because silver, not had the silver. So yeah, this was before they added red and green, and I think there's still a few other bugs that they've got rid of now in here as well that we'll probably notice as we go along, going, oh, thank God that's gone. But yeah, this tank, fantastic. Here comes the Skoda T50, which is not what we want to see. He misses 2, misses 3. We managed to luckily track him as he goes over, and he just about gets away from our gun. And you see, in that short space of time, we've already got 4k damage, 4.2k damage. It really, really racks the damage up so quickly. It's actually unbelievable. Now I'm trying to use the gun depression here that this tank gets, and obviously, like I said earlier, it is still clunky. It's still a pain in the backside to try and get right. And we're trying to pen the cupola of that T95. Now, the cupola of the T95 is the weak spot, but it's not weak. It's one of those things which is an irritating one, which, like I've said in reviews and stuff when I've said, oh, the cupola's a weak point, but it's a T95 weak point. That's what I mean, where you hit the T95 cupola and you're just like, oh, viewport damage. Viewport damage. Oh, and some more viewport damage. It just doesn't like to get penned. But here we are on this ridgeline anyway, and we luckily bounced that machine on our turret, because I mean the turret of the STB-1 is paper. It's absolute garbage, again, which means that it can get penned quite easily. It's not quite as paper as a Leopard 1, and that's purely because of the angling on it. But yeah, it's not great. You shouldn't be relying on it at all. So we're trying to catch the tracks there of the machine, because if you didn't know, you can overmatch the tracks of the machine very, very easily. You can track it and pen it. Like, it's ridiculously easy to track and pen the machine. And that's because it's got 30mm of side armour. So like I'll always say, when one of those things is charging you, shoot for the tracks, because most of the time if you shoot the track that's closest to you, you'll track and pen it, and that's how you stop the marauding YOLO machine, which you see quite often. So we're crossing into the middle here, we're aiming for the tracks of that E4. I was hoping that he'd pull back a little bit quicker, but he didn't. And then the machine is now going after Swindle. It's like, okay, I'm here to help. And there you go, track and pen it. And that's what I'm on about. He's already blown his load, so we already know that we can finish him off. And like I said, that's what I'm on about. Look at the angle that guy was at. We managed to track and pen him. It can be flat onto you and you can still do it. But now these guys are yellowing this Death Star. We're trying to shut down the back chat, but he unfortunately keeps himself safe. And now we're just going to ravage these guys. They're not really paying attention to me. I'm actually track and pen the E4 again, and I'm just going to hide behind this door, because I'm like thinking, well, people sometimes don't know that they can fire through that door, so they just won't take the shot because they can't see you, and that can be quite useful. But that bat chat disappeared, and I'm expecting that bat chat to appear somewhere, and just like magic, he does. When that bat chat disappeared off our radar, it was like, okay, he's disappeared. He's probably going to appear somewhere else to try and flank. We wait for the Death Star to turn around, shut him down, and we just know that there's the E4 that it was charging towards us somewhere. And there he is, spotted in the middle, and we're going to try and shut him down. And luckily enough, like I say, the gun handling on this tank now is so much better because of the crew skills. You can slap that shot straight into the E4 and shut the game down. And when I'm talking about crew skills for this tank that I run basically all of the gun handling skills that you can get, and that's run and gun, steady aim, or is it steady aim? It is steady aim, and snapshot. Just because the gun handling on this tank is woeful and it needs the help. It's the same as I run the vert stabs, whereas there's a lot of tanks that I drop the vert stabs now because the crew skills make up for the lack of the vert stabs. And I put vents on instead to improve and have optics and that for buff everything else. Because the crew skills take the effectiveness of the vert stabs away. Obviously, you can make things really accurate, but there's taking something and making it to the point where it's maxed out, and it would probably just be as good if it weren't maxed out, but if you buffed everything else as well. So that's why I tend to drop vert stabs in a lot of tanks. But tanks like this, where the gun handling is so woeful, vert stabs are a definite must. And it really does help the tank, as you're seeing with some of the shots we're taking. This tank has honestly become probably one of the best tier 10 medium tanks now, because the gun handling was the thing that held it back beforehand. Whereas now, it doesn't really have that problem. And that's what's great about it. So we're on Malinovka Winter in this second match, and we're going to a position that is a very good position but very dangerous as well. This position at D6 is a great place to go, but it was better on the old Mali. Now, even on the old Mali, it still had the issue of people YOLO this position like no tomorrow. But it's easier to YOLO on Mali Winter than it is on standard Mali, because you can YOLO down and you've got so many different ways that you can go without dying, basically. Because on the old Mali, there was only a certain section that you could actually go to without drowning. Whereas obviously with this, it's all covered in ice, they can get away from everywhere. It's also quite dangerous as well, because if you want to counter someone in this position, if you're on the enemy spawn, if you go to like D7, you can shoot down on this position very easily, and they can do very little about you. So we're basically taking this position anyway. We've got a Valor with us, and what this position is great for is spotting up the enemy team. And here you've got the Centurion here, and we tried to shut him down there, but we had the bobble that happens when the suspension activated and it shot up and down. Now, that nowadays is not that bad. Back in the day, that was shocking. That bubble was even worse, but the bubble's not that bad anymore. But it does catch you out every now and then, which can be a pain in the ass. But I suppose that's something you have to deal with for gaining 14 degrees of gun depression, which makes the tank incredible on ridge lines and places like this. You've also, it's a thing that you have in the back of your mind as well, about keeping check of your speed, pretty much. Because sometimes you can just go that little bit too fast, for which obviously the suspension then just deactivates, and that's a pain in the backside. So here we've got the Type 4 Heavy, Type 5 Heavy even, and we've loaded the heat because we're going to struggle to pen that Type 5 with APCR. And the heat is just going to make short work of him. And that Type 5 made mistakes when he came off that hill, and he got absolutely wrecked for it. Now we're reloading the APCR. We were going to go for a shot on that Conqueror. We got shot from the hill. And now the Conqueror is getting shot. I'm pretty sure that's an Emil that's unloading us. I guessed at that, and I decided, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to take a hit to pump a shot into the Conqueror. But unfortunately, I ended up hitting his upper plate, which means I didn't pen it. The Emil's definitely out of rounds now. Like I say, the fact that I got hit and penned, and I was like, what's that? And then I saw the Valor go up and get immediately hit again, and then again. It was like, okay, that's the Emil. So we got lucky there with a shot into that 268V5, the suspension bobbled again, but fortunately enough it still flew into the top of his turret. We're trying to pop more shots in, and like I said, the DPM on this tank is incredible. You really put the hurt to the enemy team when you're firing in, and we managed to shut down that 268V5, which is a very dangerous tank to be fighting against, because that thing hurts. It really does. So now we're looking for a shot on the ML1, and the unfortunate thing about the ML1 is it's got a great turret until you face tier 10s. And even though he was hull down using all of his gun depression, we still penned it with incredible ease anyway, because its turret is garbage. Now I make a mistake here, and I push very aggressively too early. I didn't consider how many people were probably still on that hill. And I take a big whack in the side from the 60 TP there, and then another big hit from the hill too, and I'm like, oh god, I think I'm going to die here. I need to just keep driving and get down so that I can't be shot. Now I think I'm kind of low enough, and you see I'm checking now to make sure that I'm kind of in a position where I'm not going to be shot by the hill, and we're just pummeling this T-32 with all the shots we can. Now he's gone, I'm going to pop up and I'm checking what is on the hill that's basically hit me, and it's the 60 TP and the 430U. And I'm now going to move this way to try and get some more shots up onto these guys that are on the hill. Now that push that I did was definitely the worst thing I could have done there. I got too overconfident, and I didn't expect the 60 TP and the 430U to be looking my way, but they were, so they really hurt me. That could have been the end of my day very quickly, but fortunately enough for me, it wasn't. So now the 60 TP is yellowing down, and we're just pumping shots into his side. And I'm now hoping I can get the snap in and finish him off, and luckily enough it flies straight into his turret. And this is what I'm talking about with the gun handling, right? Because beforehand, before 6.0, I would have never hit some of those shots. I'd have probably hit the dirt more often than not with those shots I put at that 60 TP. But now the gun handling is absolutely fantastic, so I'm way more confident in this tank and its ability to hit shots and use its incredible DPM than I was before. And that's what makes me think that this is probably one of the better tanks at tier 10 now for medium tanks, because it's got incredible DPM and it can use it, and that is fantastic. And it's basically one of my tanks now that I really do enjoy playing all the time. So with that shot on the 430U, we managed to sneak a shot into the back of his turret and finish him off, and we finished that game with a fantastic game for the STB-1. So we finished that game with 6 kills, who knew, nearly 6,000 damage, top of the leaderboard, 3,700 assistance. Like I say, that position at D6 can be great for assistance. Ace tanker, patrol duty, high caliber, top gun, scout medal. It's a great position to go to get spotting, but it can be dangerous, like I say, because people can YOLO you. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success!